Hello guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here. Today I'm back with another video. In this video we're going to be reacting to Death Battle's Magneto versus Tetsuo fight. I know you guys really enjoy my Death Battle videos, so whenever they drop out a good one, I will react to it. I'm not going to react to every Death Battle video they drop out, because I'm going to be honest, there's some videos where they drop out where there's two characters which I either don't know or don't care about. So I'm going to only specifically be watching ones where I do have some interest in and there's something I could talk about, or I could at least understand and know something about. I mean, the last one, Homelander versus Omni-Man, I cared about that one because I know about those two characters and I like both of them. I did on the Vegeta versus Thor video, obviously for obvious reasons. And this one, I think this one's interesting too. So just in case of the next episode is crazy or something good, like a great episode, then yeah, I'll react to it. But if it's not, I won't. So yeah, it's only some specific ones. But with that being said, let's get into this video.
Ignited revolution not just in their worlds, but also the very mediums they exist within. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick, and it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna make my prediction who I think is gonna win. I want to say Tetsuo would win because he is not limited to magnetic stuff, but then again I think Magneto will win because, well, one, he's a combo character and he's from a main one like Marvel, so he's going to be considered to be more powerful, and on top of that he has done some crazy stuff with his magnetic abilities, so who knows, he might win. But like I said, I would, on my own personal thing, like there's two different answers I have. I'm saying Magneto from Death Battle's perspective. I'm pretty sure Death Battle's going to choose Magneto, but I think Tetsuo would win because simply he's not limited to just metallic objects that have a magnetic force around it, whereas he can pick up anything. So I think he's less limited to what he can do. Though I will say maybe Magneto's power magnetism is a lot stronger than his telekinesis.
In the short duration of modern civilization, likely no conflict tested humanity more than the Second World War. In the primary
I'm gonna skip some of this,
sorry. This fact is certain death with his future wife, Misfortune.
6'2".
And always followed wherever he went, thanks to his unexpected mutation.
Just like discrimination, Nazis with wooden guns.
Of a superhuman.
I know
After
why.
settling down in Russia with his new family, the KGB quickly found out about this quirk, so they burned his house down with his own daughter inside.
So he had another one before Wanda?
He snapped and killed them all. I don't blame him. I'd do that too. Too bad his wife didn't get it and ditched him though. But that's when Magneto made a choice. Since humans hurt him his entire life, he'd do the same to them in the name of mutants everywhere.
Makes
At first,
sense.
Magneto turned to the telepathic powerhouse Charles Xavier and his fledgling team of heroes. But his new friend wasn't thrilled with the idea of, subjugating the human race. So, Magneto formed his own team of mutants.
I guess that can do.
Magneto can telekinetically move.
So yeah, magnetic kinesis, flight, magnetic barriers, energy manipulation. Yeah, like I said, he can make barriers, but I think Tetsuo could also do the same thing. If you have psychic powers, you should be able to make a barrier of your own. But I don't know. In the Akira movie that they had, he didn't have the powers for too long, so I think definitely experience goes to Magneto because he's had multiple comic book issues and stuff, and he's been around forever. He had his mutant powers as as a young person, as a child, so he's had this for decades, and he's an old man, so he has more time and training with it. Whereas Tetsuo, even if he's more powerful, he does not have that much control. So I don't know if he can make a barrier. If he can, then that would be a big advantage, but Magneto having the magnetic barrier does help him out a lot.
And reshape any metal he's aware of. Bullets, vehicles, buildings, you name it. Even himself when he manipulates his personal magnetic field for flight and energy barriers. Magnetic kinesis is far more versatile than it would appear at first glance. The blood in your body has iron in it. The air has traces of lead and mercury. Whole mountains are lined with metallic ore. The earth itself is surrounded by a literal magnetic field. So many
I didn't think about that.
to play with. He can detect magnetic fields at such a huge range. He can even pinpoint Earth's magnetic rays while stranded on a planet in another galaxy. And guess what? He was able to use those rays to pull himself back to Earth in a single day. His range is...
I heard he also was able to manipulate Jupiter's magnetic field force, and they said he has magnetic powers like the attraction of it is the same strength as, you know, Jupiter's magnetic force. So what they explain right there, I think that's how he's going to beat him. Even let's say they're going to be fighting evenly and he's going to be having a lot of pushback with his psychic ability and hurting him, but he could simply, you know, have the iron in his blood and pull it out of him or hurt him with it, or like they said, the lead in the air. So I think they're going to have him beat him through that means. I don't think an upfront, let's say, outright battle like assault, where they're just firing, like, you know, magnetic blasts and psychic blasts and picking shit up and throwing at each other. I don't think that's going to work out very well for Magneto. I think Tetsuo is going to have a little more power than him in that regard, but he has far more versatility in his like abilities. So, which is weird because I said Tetsuo had more versatility, but I meant more versatility in the sense of he's not constricted to a magnetic field. But seeing as how they explain this, it does open up more of a discussion. I think that even if Tetsuo does overpower and beat him up, they're going to be like, oh, he was stronger and stuff like that. But Magneto had more versatility into what he could use, and he could use the atmosphere of the guy's blood and kill him that way. So I think that would be the biggest advantage he would have against somebody like him.
More remarkable than that, did you know that in 1820, physicist Hans Christian Ørsted discovered that electric currents, like those of electrons and protons and atoms, produce their own magnetic fields?
Everything does.
Magneto can fine-tune his control to affect these very subatomic particles. Dummy here will illustrate such a particle.
I mean, it's like with gravity. Everything has gravity. Like, you know, we also have a gravitational pull on the Earth itself. Water has it. Everything has a certain level of gravity, except for maybe, I guess you can say light, because light has no mass. It has to have some sort of mass. So everything has a mass, so it will have some gravity around it. Obviously, depending on the mass of the object and the size of the object, it will be bigger or smaller. Sometimes not size always, because there's, you know, neutron stars which are the size of a city or whatever. Some I think are the size of New York or even smaller, and they have the same amount of gravitational pressure as, you know, a star or like our sun or even above that. So yeah, everything has like a gravitational field and a magnetic field. Especially for humans, we have electrical impulses come from our brains and going signals directly to our heart. So our heart and our minds also have an electrical magnetic pulse. There's actually quite an interesting subject, and I know I don't want to go to it too deep, but there's studies been found out that you can actually read people's thoughts by, you know, putting on this machine that can you know, read the magnetic signals that are sent from your brain, and doing so you can understand what they're thinking. So we can also do that, developing it. So if he has that, also that's another big up for Akira. Akira needs to have some ridiculous ability or, you know, hack ability to fend off against Magneto to make it a fair fight.
Positively charged protons and negative electrons.
My life is as meaningless as an atom is small.
So what you're saying is Magneto could, like, yank one of those out? Correct. Potentially changing an atom's entire chemical makeup. However, neutrons do not have a charge, and without the ability to adjust those to accommodate the change in atomic mass, the atom would become unstable and...
Finally!
do that. Magneto's violent protest against humankind clashed with Xavier's peaceful reconciliation. Not unlike...
The only problem I have with these abilities is he can do that, but people always say that, well, this character can do this and that. But the thing you need to take in consideration, even if these characters have these ridiculous abilities, is how often do they use it? Is it a go-to thing they do, or is it something that they rarely ever do, but they have the ability to do it, or once in a while? Because people use that always in an argument. They can do this, but then they're, like, let's say in a comic book issue or in a TV show or whatever, and they're fighting against a big threat, and they have these abilities to help them out, but they never use it. So it's like, even when they're in situations where it requires them to pull out everything, they don't use it. So it's like, or they rarely ever use it. So it's like, don't use these type of things for an argument when it comes to these debates. People like to use a lot of like, oh, this character has this hacks ability. Well, do they really use it oftenly, especially against an opponent that's stronger than them? No. Then it really doesn't matter, because they're not going to be using that. That's not their go-to thing. This is people's mindsets or scenarios of, this is what the character should do to have the best outcome to win. But these characters, if they were to fight, they wouldn't go through that route if that's not something they normally do. Because some characters, I don't know why, either it's they give them such an OP ability, the writers are just like, man, I don't know, we have to just make them not use it, or the characters are just stupid or ignorant, or they have to have a reason for them not to use something of that nature. But yeah, they're saying he has all these abilities, and like I said, I don't know that much about Magneto, And I do agree that he can do that, but I just want to know if any of you guys are out there, please let me know if he uses those abilities quite frequently, or is it just something he has in his back pocket, which he rarely uses. Because like I said, people need to stop using this in debate, saying this character can do this, when they don't even use that in their own, like, you know, issue against characters. You're just using this as an argument. Once again, I'm not saying that he doesn't. I just want to know for a fact that he does use these, you know, additional hacks abilities they can use.
Technologies taught by Malcolm X and Dr. King, by whom Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were inspired. Magneto would spend most of his career pushing Xavier away to prove his philosophy superior, which meant doing battle with Xavier's school of thought, quite literally. And Baldy's mind powers are no joke, but thanks to Magneto's psionic repelling helmet, Professor X couldn't touch him. Magneto survived Cyclops' earth-splitting lasers, absorbed the power of the sun to battle Iron Man, ripped the adamantium...
Pulled a world breaker bullet near speed. Break world bullet at near light speed, okay. Flew between galaxies in a short time frame, punched Iron Man with the force of a sun. They said he absorbed the sun to hit him with. I don't think he punched him with the power of his sun, let's be honest. I don't think there's any, or barely any Iron Man suits out there that can tank a sun getting hit with the sun. I think that's the problem with them. They do over-exaggerate a lot, and they misinterpret what they mean. Because his suit, he might have absorbed, the energy from the sun to help him power him up, but that doesn't mean he had the power of directly, literally, the sun. You know what I mean? Like, let's go back at it.
Lasers absorb the power of the sun.
So he was using a suit that absorbed the sun, power of the sun. He's telling me that hit right there had the power of a star smacking, Iron Man in the face with it. You tell me that suit can survive a smack of the level of a star? I highly doubt it. Because here's the thing that tricks a lot of people is just because somebody uses something or does something where they absorb an energy from a certain source does not mean they're exerting that same amount of power from that source itself. Just because he's absorbing energy from the sun does not mean his suit is now hitting with the power of the sun itself. It's not like you're getting hit with the sun, because the sun's like, I think 30 octillion tons. It's basically saying that he's hitting with a force of 30 octillion tons with each hit. I highly doubt that's the case at all. So that's an over-exaggeration.
To battle Iron Man, rip the adamantium skeleton out of Wolverine's body, and even take it on Hercules himself. You know, the Greek legend, Zero to Hero, the guy who held up the skies of Olympus for Atlas? That Hercules. Seems sensible. Magneto once used the Earth's magnetic field to overwhelm the Phoenix Force, which can effortlessly destroy planets, let alone far more. Hell, if he really wanted to, Magneto could totally just fling the Earth off its axis. It's entirely possible he may have eventually resorted to just that. Over time, it became clear Magneto's war was doing far more harm than good for his fellow mutants, however well-intentioned he may have been at first. Luckily, he later realized
also,
he was going a bit...
I just want to say that a lot of these characters, when they beat more powerful characters like that, people need to understand that there's context that matter. You can say that he beat a Phoenix Force with doing that, but it's like, is it just because he was so much more powerful that the power he was using was so much more and he was overpowered her? Or was it because he did a plan, or it was like some weakness that she had, or there was a strategy, or like there could be multiple different factors to a victory, especially in comic books, where they have usually, when they have big forces like that, they have a fight with multiple people instead of just one person coming in and, fighting them and taking them on.
Overboard and began reevaluating his perspective. Good for you, Mags. It's really tough to recognize when you're the baddie. It took time and patience not just from Magneto, but also from his peers. Yet eventually, his path was completely changed. He even became a leader for Xavier's X-Men. But don't let his new goody two-shoes ways fool you. Whenever there's a threat to mutants, you can bet Magneto will be there to annihilate it. Forever.
And in the new comics, they have their own island, and Professor X is kind of like Magneto. He's not to his extreme, but he has his own island specifically just for mutants only.
Over 30 years ago, a new type of bomb was set off over Tokyo, and 9 hours later began the Third World War. Welcome to 2030.
We went from World War II to World War III.
If you're watching the anime, the buildings are taller, the motorcycles are
I wish
cooler,
2019 looked like this.
is brighter. No, wait, not really. If you find yourself in the Capsule Gang, you'll meet Shotaro Kaneda, who's like your textbook anime Chad. Gets the ladies, beats the baddies, and comes the sweetest.
I mean, I like this dude. He's such a cool ass character. He was so cool.
middle brother of the group, Kanada's best friend, Tetsuo Shima.
With his big ass forehead.
Well, the exact opposite. A total wimp. As a kid, Tetsuo and his college
5'4". He's 19. I mean, then again, he's Japanese. No offense to Japanese, but they're usually smaller. But 5'4", he's the size of like the average height of a woman, and 103 pounds. That's very light.
And got bullied for being the new kid at the orphanage. That's until Big Bro Kanada came to the rescue. Eventually, the two went to vocational school together and formed the Capsules. But Tetsuo was never satisfied with Kanada being the leader of the pack.
Canada at the camera. I'm using the same one.
Be top dog. Oh, I can just see that monkey's paw curling in my
BMW.
mind. Or that kid walking down the street. Shit, Tetsuo, watch out, you're gonna... That definitely should have killed
This
him.
movie was pretty crazy. I loved it.
Tetsuo earned himself a ticket to military confinement. Turns out they had an under-the-table program for developing child superweapons. In the same program that backfired and jump-started the war, Tetsuo became Japan's Esper number 41. He may not have been a natural with bikes, baddies, or babes, but this telekinesis stuff hit different.
I'm telling you, he's
he
a...
walked out of that hospital.
I know they try to make Magneto seem like he's very powerful with this thing. I think, for 100%, I think Tetsuo is way more powerful when it comes to his psychic ability. And I think he has, like I said, less limitations when he uses his psychic ability. But Magneto has more versatility from what I've seen and what they've shown. And he has a lot more dangerous abilities compared to him. His one's more simplistic and straightforward.
And blending people into strawberry jelly. Tetsuo got what he wanted. Power, along with the hunger for more of it. A hunger that used to only be satiated with drugs. And not just any gateway drug. Pills so potent that a single gram of the stuff could kill you. So, pretty bad. Kinda reminds me of college days, huh? Snow wizard. Tetsuo's main ability is his constantly increasing psionic energy, growing more and more powerful over time.
Yeah, I also have that.
Tetsuo's link to, quote, the memories of the universe, end quote. It's weird. Either way, Tetsuo leveled up from lame gangbuster to certified badass. This guy is a walking natural disaster. His telekinesis can shake the planet, easily cause earthquakes over a dozen
I told you, he's
miles
very,
below the
very
surface.
powerful.
He
Don't
can
underestimate
summon
if you guys don't know
psychic
who he
barriers
is.
for defense and crush
Oh, I forgot. Okay, there it is. I forgot he does have, he can generate and create a barrier. But yeah, he's far more powerful than people might think. I think a lot of people that do watch these stuff, they only know about the comic books and they don't know about anything else. Akira, unlike other animes, you can just watch, it's just one thing, it's just watch a movie and that's it. But yeah, I forgot he does have a magnetic field. That does help him out heavily in the fight, but I still think Magneto, with his experience and what he can do, is going to be too much for Tetsuo to handle.
He can dart around as a literal bolt of lightning, or even teleport in an instant. Tetsuo's telekinesis can be so precise he can target and obliterate specific parts of the body. He can heal severe wounds quickly, but even after losing a whole limb, he can craft a new one using whatever nearby materials he wants.
Yeah,
with these
metal.
powers, Top Dog Kanada didn't matter anymore. Who needed his approval? Tetsuo tasted that good shit and he was hooked. And when he found out another Esper named Akira could deal him even more power, he rampaged through Tokyo to find him. And this is where versions of the story differ. Spoilers ahoy! You may be familiar with the 1988 animation, where Akira had been dissected for research. However, in the original manga, Akira is not only alive, but even more powerful. Once that little runt nuked Tokyo, Tetsuo would have wrecked the great Tokyo Empire with Akira and himself as its leaders. But
Yeah, it was different. From what I heard, it was different. I never read the manga. I will probably read the manga after this video because it's just kind of reinvigorating my interest in Akira. But yeah, the movie was great. I loved it. But that ending part, I'll be honest, it was a disappointment. It disappointed me heavily. I was like, we're waiting for this, and then this is what they gave us. I felt it was kind of disappointing. Also, I will say, I don't mind dark stories and stuff, but it was kind of depressing, the ending. The ending of the anime was anime movie was really depressing. So hopefully the manga, even if it's depressing, has a better ending than that. I think that ending was kind of crappy, and it was kind of depressing at the same time.
he ended up just abusing the position for endless sex and inflating his ego. With Kanada's rebellion at his front door, Tetsuo took a turn for the worse.
Okay.
He had to fight. Tetsuo's defeated other powerful
Okay, caused an 8.5 magnitude earthquake, strong obliterating SOL satellite. Okay, created the moon. Okay, can destroy Earth 100 times over. Okay, I can see him being able to destroy the Earth if he can create an 8.5 magnitude earthquake. Let's say he can create a big enough earthquake to like shock the plates and it destroys it. But to destroy the Earth 100 times over, that might be an over exaggeration on their part. They're gonna need to prove to me personally that he can destroy the Earth 100 times over. Dodged light speed lasers. That's the thing about lasers in fiction. It's not very accurate a lot of times. Him dodging it, who knows? He could be faster than light, but I don't know. Leap to the moon faster than sight. I'm gonna have to read the mangas to see all this other stuff. Survive multiple nuclear laser blasts. Okay.
Dodged light speed lasers and jumped to the moon faster than anyone could blink. And
Yeah, I'm
then
gonna
punched a big old hole in it. And if you ask, Boomstick, wouldn't that mess up gravity on Earth? You would be right, because it totally did. Screwed the planet, I guess. Stupid moon.
Which brings us to Tetsuo's folly. His abuse of his powers spiraled until he lost control. Unfortunately for Kanada's rebellion, this did not make Tetsuo an easier enemy to confront. Exactly opposite, in fact, as Tetsuo painfully mutated into an unstoppable behemoth.
Yep.
Did they do that manga too? Because I know they did in the anime.
I'm happy to say the manga's version is even more disturbing.
Okay, they do that.
I mean, I know babies can be monsters, but that's a whole nother level.
It is pain incarnate.
The fucked up one was when he ate the girl
Another expert
that
described
cared about him.
Tetsuo's struggle as ego death, which has multiple definitions, but in this case is likely symbolic of the version attributed to drug use.
Yeah, it's described as a shedding of one's own identity, like how LSD can emulate a wild out-of-body experience, and you...
I think they're also gonna use this bigger form as like to see how tough
maybe
it
a little
is.
more extreme. In fact, you could say Tetsuo was shedding his human body to play with the powers of a god.
I wish I could shed out of my body, but in this case, Tetsuo going full out of body meant becoming a mound of raw, ever-expanding energy.
Which almost nuked Tokyo all over again. And those
Yeah, that's fair.
explosions are not normal. I would know.
Top scientists in both the manga and animated versions describe these explosions as births of a new universe.
Given its properties of nuclear fusion and proton collapse, Tetsuo's mutated form was likely creating a Big Bang.
You know, the thing that started our whole universe?
Right, in the manga, it instead ended the Espers and their abilities once and for all. A testament that humankind is unsuited to wield the powers of the divine.
Though the anime is even more trippy. Thanks to Akira and his buddies, Tetsuo got so high on ego death, he ascended time-space to become god of a new universe. Kinda worth it, right?
And yet, Kanada kept his empire up in his honor, now as the Great Akira Empire. Ironically, in death, Tetsuo finally received the attention he so desperately craved.
I wouldn't say the whole universe stuff. I think that's more of an over exaggeration. They did say it was gonna create a Big Bang, but we never saw it happening. There's no real indication that it would have 100%. The scientists, they could have probably just theorized it in the stuff, and it's probably just to ham it up a little more. That look at how severe it is, because it doesn't make sense that it didn't destroy everything. And they said he became a god of his own universe. I think they're misinterpreting what they meant in that. I will have to rewatch the movie again because I haven't watched it in a while, but I'm pretty sure that was just showing a representation of the afterlife, him dying and, moving on and stuff, and him getting that happiness. I highly doubt he created a new universe or whatever and, lives there. I think that's an over-exaggeration. Like I said, I will still have to read the manga fully, but I think that's one problem with them. I think they overdo things like that. I'm gonna be skipping the fight.
This episode of Death Battle is...
I knew they were gonna make him win.
You are welcome.
I knew they were gonna make Magneto win. Like I said, he's a comic book character. They'll pick a comic book character over an anime manga character, especially one that's just from a movie and one
Never doing
manga.
that again.
Tetsuo's esoteric
It
telekinesis.
says right here: stronger, faster, tougher. Magnetic kinesis counter Tetsuo's offense. Magnetic senses counter Tetsuo's mobility. Inferior healing options. Tetsuo could eventually grow more powerful. Could kill Magneto with his shield. Really? Telekinesis has a broader range of effect. Like I said, it has more. He has more abilities to do whatever he wants with his, because telekinesis versus magnesis or magnokinesis, whatever you want to call it, because he can only really use metals. And only specific metals, like I said. Not every metal has, is magnetic. So only specific metals would he be able to use. Telekinesis, he can use anything, pick up anything. They say he's stronger, faster, and tougher. I don't know about that. I don't think he is. People, if they're saying that he's faster than light and can teleport and stuff, that would be making him faster than Magneto. And stronger, I think you can have a case for either or. Personally, I would still say, Tetsuo, since he can destroy, from his thing creating the, like, earthquakes and stuff, he can destroy the earth. Magneto cannot really do that. They said he fought, he defeated, what's her name? I forgot what her name was, the Phoenix, and he's like, oh, she can destroy planets, and she can, but that does not mean to just because he beat her that was the case, because there's probably other people that helped out. There was probably more to it than that, and he hasn't shown to have that level of power of planet destroying with his mag. He can destroy the planet, but that's not like, there's different ways of destroying a planet. He can destroy it through a scientific means, like tilting off access, doing all this other stuff. But he cannot, like, literally blow apart the planet or rip it apart. That's not the type of strength he has. And they already said Tetsuo can do that and stated even 100 times over, which, like I said, they still didn't prove that he can do it 100 times over. But they said that, and, like,
This is another bizarre ability. Certainly gave Magneto pause, but the Master of Magnetism had great...
Oh, yeah, also right here. Through his applications was less versatile. See? And over-exaggeration of risk, bodily harm, far less combat tactical experience. Like I said, besides the stronger and fast thing, they gave that more to Magneto. But like most of my analysis was correct. Like I said, he has less limitations on what he could do with his ability, but Magneto is more versatile with his ability, and he has far less combat experience and tactical experience than Magneto. And I think that's why he has a higher versatility, not only just because of his unique ability with the magnetic properties, you can use with the iron in someone's blood, or like they said, the lead in the air, but also the fact that he has more time to develop different means. Whereas Tetsuo, he had a very, very short time of his abilities.
Control over his foe.
The numbers don't lie. Tetsuo cratering the moon was insane, but Magneto punched Iron Man with the force of the sun. And while Tetsuo jumped all the way to the moon, Magneto could move across galaxies.
Against Tetsuo in his human form, Magneto obviously held a sizable advantage in power and speed.
Okay, here's the problem with that. Like I already stated about the sun thing, he's not hitting them with the power of the sun. He's using the sun's power to power up the suit and using that power to hit him, but he's not hitting with the power of the sun. That is such stupid bullshit. They even showed... they even showed, what's the thing called, him hitting Iron Man. You're telling me Iron Man's suit can tank a fucking sun hitting him in the face? Bullshit. Let's be honest, that's bullshit. He's not hitting with this. This is what I mean by, I was like, how powerful could he be? How strong could he be? And how fast could he be? They use stuff like this and they don't understand what they're saying. No, he does not have the power of the sun. First of all, he was obviously using a suit to enhance his already physical ability. Second of all, that suit would not be able to use the entire power of the sun. It would use the solar radiation to power it up, but that's not using the actual sun itself. Basically what they would be saying is he was hitting Iron Man with the force of 30 octillion tons. He was smacking him in the face with 30 octillion tons. You're telling me any Iron Man suit can survive that? Or, that suit specifically, which would look like one of the more regular Mark suits, not even the, the Buster suits, like the Hulk Buster, the Thor Buster, the Celestial Buster suits. It looks like a regular ass Mark, like Mark 17, Mark 3, whatever suit he has. You tell me he can tank a sun getting hit in the face? Bullshit. You're telling me he's hitting with that much force? If he was hitting with the force of the sun, he would have fucking destroyed the entire place. That amount of power is too destructive to be able to not cause a massive amount of power, unless you're doing it in deep space where you're away from stuff. So that's not true. He was not hitting with the power of the sun. He was using the sun to power up the suit. That's not exactly the same thing. So yeah, that is wrong. Also, they said he went through galaxies. They even stated himself that he could connect to the Earth's magnetic field and get himself across there. How does he do that? Basically, he propelled himself by using the magnetic field. Sorry about the video cutting off, but like I said, the speed also, they kind of manipulated to you, like, oh, you can go through between galaxies within days or whatever. Here's the thing. they literally themselves stated that he connected to the magnetic field and launched himself. Basically, he propelled himself with the magnetic field itself. What I think happened was, since he was on the planet, he used the planet's magnetic field and the Earth's magnetic field and propelled himself directly to it. That's how he got to the exact destination that he needed to, but also it launched him forward. It's kind of like being, like, say, on a slingshot. You hold yourself back and then it expands and then it launches you forward. I think that's what he did. He pulled onto the gravity and then got himself launched. He himself was not flying at that speed. He was using something to propel him to it. So yes, I would not consider that him being, able to move between galaxies within a couple of days. I'm not putting that as him having the punch of a star. So I was 100% right in my analysis. They got it incorrect. Tetsuo is physically stronger than him, faster than him, more durable than him. His powers have less limitations than him, but Magneto has more experience than him. He has more versatility to his power. He has more dangerous hack abilities that can help him out. And even though I wouldn't say he's stronger and he's slower and all that stuff, I wouldn't say he's to such an extent where it's a complete, disparaging, levels of power. I still think Magneto had a good level of power and stuff. And I will still agree that, Magneto would win, but to say that he has with a punch of a star and like millions to billions of times the speed of light, bullshit. Let's be honest. It's bullshit and they're not using it correctly.
But stats aren't all that matters. With his precise telekinesis, Tetsuo could just target Magneto's organs. GG, right?
Yes, but Magneto had similar skills. There are very few substances on Earth that lack any metallic or magnetic component, and Magneto is very creative with his powers.
Which he could use to predict Tetsuo's teleportation and even shut down his telekinesis. And his scraps with Xavier prove he could handle Tetsuo's messing.
Like I said, you can read minds from like the magnetic waves in your signals from your brain. So that is correct. Even if Tetsuo can read his mind, since he has magnetic powers, he can manipulate those to prevent him from reading his mind, or even manipulate Tetsuo's, magnetic field in his brain to shut that off. So technically, Magneto has like a perfect protection against psychic abilities if he's obviously able to catch on and do it beforehand. If let's say he's caught off guard, then he will get taken out. I think that's why he has the helmet, obviously, because like even if he can do that to Xavier can catch him off guard and do it to him. So he will need to protect himself on all times. He can't even keep his defensive at all times, so he has to do that. So I agree with that.
For Magneto was when Tetsuo's gross mutated power came into play.
Especially given how the detonations from this form were compared to that of a Big Bang. Although the authenticity of that observation is questionable. In truth, the Big Bang was a sudden expansion of matter on a universal scale, whereas Tetsuo's explosions are more akin to nuclear blasts, clearly intentional given the post-war symbolism of the Oculus story.
The whole creating an alternate universe bit wasn't even part of the original material, so we can't exactly call it canon.
But let's just say the comparison.
Finally, they did something like that. Like I said, the problem with not only Death Battle, but a lot of people that do these, debates of who would win, they like to use these either out of context or over-exaggerated feats and say this is how powerful they are. But it's like we don't see them using that level of power. They say that, but once again, like they said, they're scientists, and that doesn't mean that just because it's stated in the story doesn't mean it's 100% true. And on top of that, like they said, the property of it was going slow like a nuke. If it was like the Big Bang, it would be super big. Also, how would they know exactly if they don't have really measuring tools to measure how big it was? They just automatically assumed. And like I said, it was not in the original source material, it was just in this. So I will give them credit for that. I respect that. I think that's a big problem that a lot of people that do these debates, they see either a character they like or a character they think is super powerful, like they can do this. And it's like, yes, it was stated in some specific aspects, but there's more to it than that. They've never shown it. They've never done it. They can't really do it. I think a lot of people, they try to take these high-end feats and try to use them. And that's can be a little big problem when debating, because there's sometimes low-end feats that make these characters look weaker, and they're outliers, and people use this to say they're not that strong because of this little thing. And then there's some where they're high-end feats, and they're outliers, and they make them look more ridiculously powerful, and people are like, yep, that's how powerful they are. I think the best way to do a fight between characters is to use their consistent feats. Use ones that are not too on the low end, and not too on the high end. Don't lowball them and don't highball them. Try to be consistent and like keep it specifically in the center. So if I'm talking about a specific character, I'm not going to be using their best feat, their most ridiculous feat, or their most pathetic feat. I'm going to be using the most consistent feat that they've shown. Because when people use that, it over-exaggerates the characters and makes it sound like ungodly beings. Or if they do it the other way, it makes it sound so weak that anybody can beat them. So I don't like when people do that in these debates where they, like I said, simply they use the higher lower end. Because any fiction you see, there's going to be that in it because the writers can't always be consistent. So just go with the consistent feat and what they are in their baseline. Don't go with these over-exaggerated feats to argue that they're this or that powerful.
Wasn't superfluous. Let's say Tetsuo did in fact cause a Big Bang capable of creating or destroying an entire universe, alternate or otherwise.
Turns out Magneto had the tools to stop that too. Helmet Head could overpower Hercules, who was strong enough to hold up the skies of Olympus, which is literally heaven and an alternate universe.
This doesn't necessarily mean Magneto could easily destroy a universe with a snap of his fingers, but it does prove he can match a similar level of power. And context is everything. Tetsuo's Big Bang eruption specifically exhibited proton collapse, meaning its atomic structure was primarily an unstable mess of neutrons and electrons. And Magneto has detected and commanded unstable electrons before. This means Magneto had every means available to take control over this Big Bang.
Damn, and I thought he could just move some metal around. It's like the question posed by some of the greatest prophets of...
Okay, I'll say this. The whole, like I said, this is what they do wrong because comic books, it depends on which one you're using. He could have fought Hercules that didn't have that feat. Because what they're showing was like an older Hercules, and then the other feat with that was like a newer one. And also, like, holding the sky up is not equivalent to having the power of the universe, let's be honest. Holding up the sky up, first of all, it doesn't make any sense. You can't hold up the sky itself. But even since we're going by like, you know, mythology and Greek mythology and stuff, even that, it's not equivalent to the universe itself. It wasn't saying it was holding the entire night sky or the universe itself. It was just holding up a specific aspect of it, which once again is not very quantifiable, and they don't show any other feats where he's dealt with that. I'm not saying that Tetsuo's explosion is universal level. I don't agree with that either. I don't think his explosion was universal level. They had no proof or evidence. The scientists seemed like they were just more theorizing. And they did say miniature Big Bang, which doesn't make any sense either. So it wouldn't even be the size of a full universe either. So I'm just saying Magneto and him are both not universe level. That's all I'm trying to say.
Of our time. Fucking magnets. How do they even work?
Magneto's astonishing power and intelligent control over all things magnetism triumphed in the end.
Tetsuo pushed his luck, but didn't have the metal.
I don't have a problem with the results. I just think a lot of their some of their analysis and the way they handled it was incorrect. I think Magneto, it makes sense if you beat Tetsuo. It could go either way for me, but if they choose Magneto, it's fine. I just don't like the incorrection and like the over exaggeration of these characters' abilities.
Hope you like the next one.
Like Magneto's star thing, that was just ridiculous. Ooh. Sun Wukong versus Hercules. Oh, they didn't mention Hercules in this. I don't know, I might react to that one. I don't know about it. So yeah, I went quite on a bit in this video about the stuff. Like I said, in the first half I was pausing a bit because I don't know as much about Magneto, but I'm not an idiot. I can tell when something is incorrect or when something is wrong. Like I said, the whole sun thing where they said he punched with the force of a sun, and it's like, the panel showed him wearing a suit, so it was not his natural ability. Also, he was fighting against Iron Man. Iron Man suits would not be able to take a sun level of attack, and the planet they were doing it on Earth, so Earth should have been completely shattered and destroyed. So it doesn't make any sense in that regarded aspect too. Also, they're saying that he has these universal abilities too. The fact that you're telling me that he can punch with a star is impressive. That's the one problem about these characters. People are like, oh, they can do this, but then you're using a lower end feat. A star compared to a universe is far different to the point where it's not even close. Why would you even mention a star then? He can hit with the force of star, but he also has the power of preventing a universal destruction. And also, I do think it is an over-exaggeration on Akira's part, because they haven't shown anything on that level. At most they showed was like planet level, and then automatically his explosion goes to like a Big Bang. Also, people need to understand, I'll make a video on this. I tried to make a video on it a couple of times, but it just didn't work. But I'll make a video on this like maybe tomorrow or maybe later. I think tomorrow will be fine actually. About the Big Bang and how it works, because people misinterpret the Big Bang. They think the Big Bang itself is an explosion. It was not. Even if it was the Big Bang, they said that is not. First of all, the Big Bang is not an explosion that would destroy the universe. Second of all, it's not even technically an explosion. So for him to having a Big Bang thing, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be destructive. And what do you think? So I will make a video on that more in depth, talking about that. I will also read the Akira manga just for main interest because I like it, and I'll probably make a video on that too, talking about more about him, what they got right or wrong, whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for next time.